Alex, it is great to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you. We got the background of the Miami Herald, El Nuevo Herald, behind you, which is great. And, it always is fantastic for me to talk to everybody, friends and people from my second hometown, if you will, Miami, where I lived for 25 years. So everything is going great with you.
Everything's going great, and welcome into our home. I'm sitting here in our editorial board room, and that's the backdrop you see where we bring in people for our editorial board.
So we will get some breaking news in this interview, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay.
Behind the scenes, yes.
That's what we're looking for. This is like not TMZ, but next thing to it, I guess.
Uh, yeah, a little bit more credible.
It sounds good. Well, how about if we start? Can you tell our business audience your name, what you do, a little bit about your background would be terrific.
I'm Alex Villoch. I'm the president and publisher of the Miami Herald Media Company. I've been in this position all of, 4 months. Uh, I've But I've been with the company for 14 years. My previous position, I was Senior VP of Advertising and Marketing for the company. And I've had a variety of executive jobs during my career. I've been with United Airlines, with Eastern Airlines, banking 2 different times in my career, both in finance and operations, logistics, as well as sales and marketing. So that's kind of like the diversity that I bring into the position that I'm in now.
Diversity is key these days, and I certainly remember doing a lot of work from my executive search perspective with Knight Ridder and the Herald in the past, and so it's an icon organization, obviously, and 4 months. God, they said it wouldn't last. What did they know? Um, so, not to flatter you publicly, but obviously you've made great contributions within Miami-Dade as a leader. This is a leadership series that we're putting on for our business audience and others. And could you give us, your perspective of or your definition, if you will, what leadership is?
Ah, I don't have anything that's concise or dictionary type. I think it's sort of evolved in my definition of a role of what a leader should be in an organization. First of all, the role is one of being able to be visionary, but in such a fashion that you can help connect the dots to everyone in the organization so that they can understand what their role is and what role they play into moving the company forward. And being able to very clearly define what the mission, the role, where we're going. And I think in these very convoluted, rapidly changing times, for any industry, not just the media industry that we're in, it becomes very, very critical to have a leader that is very visible and is continuously reinforcing where the company's going. Because it's so easy in the day-to-day to lose sight of that and for people to be confused about why are we doing something. So I think that's critical. And more so in our industry, there's a tremendous sense of temporarily inheriting the leadership of a company that has been around serving our community for over 110 years. So there's an incredible deal of respect that I have to the legacy of those that have preceded me and of our role in the community, which is a little bit different than if we were just creating widgets. So there's this sense of how do we move forward, but with respect to that past. And understanding that people come at what we do every day from different perspectives. But connecting the dots, I think, is sort of my takeaway lead on what our role is as leaders.
Yeah, I think all of that is obviously great, but you raise an amazing point that I love is that we need more of respecting the legacy before us and the tradition before us, I think, and that makes an organization, I think, even that much stronger. And it goes back to, which I don't hear very often anymore, unfortunately. People used to say, at least I think they used to say a lot more, boy, I'm really proud where I work.
I think that's key. It's proud of where I work, but underlying that is I'm proud of the work we do.
Right.
And that is where I say what we do and being able to connect the dots for everyone in our organization, regardless of what their role is. What we do every day celebrates the best of our community, but it also provides a voice to people that sometimes would never have a voice. the work that we do saves lives, and you have very few opportunities to be in a business scenario where you can say that. Some of the groundbreaking work that we did, I mean, the ability to fund two reporters and an entire team and the legal fees to over a year's time produce something like Innocence Lost a few months ago, that documented the 500 children that had lost their lives under the care of the Department of Children and Family Services. If we had not connecting the dots again, and told that story and said, these are not individual cases, there's an underlying policy shift that drove the loss of those children's lives. And being able to not only craft the story, but say, here are potential solutions for our community and our state, and watching that translate into a groundbreaking legislative bill that is now funding and creating new policies that will hopefully save lives going forward. I mean, that at the end of the day makes what we do a little bit different, and also fuels me of saying we need to figure out what our business model is to make sure that this is a sustainable enterprise going forward so that we can continue to do that kind of work.
Yeah, that's amazing to me, and I want to come back to some of that, but also you had mentioned about having the vision, connecting the dots and everything, and you've been involved on boards as well, and there's both corporate and nonprofit, namely like the Beacon Council for one is an example. But how have you seen or determined that the right leadership needed on a specific board? One where you're potentially a member, but also maybe one that you're looking or being asked to join.
Over time, I've always looked and said, when I've been asked to join a board, I look and say, what would my role be there? There's a lot of, I have precious little personal time. So I look and say, is this a board, first of all, that fuels and meets one of my personal passions? Is it a board where I can add value? I don't want to be part of a board just because my name is going to be on some letterhead saying that I'm a member of a board. Right. Can I add value? Can I make a difference? Is that investment of my time going to pay dividends for that board and that organization? And I think that that's one of the key things as you serve on boards, is also knowing when to step back and saying, I've added value, it's now time to make room and create an organization, particularly in nonprofits, and make sure that you have an organization that is sustainable and has a process for moving forward. I think a lot of people sometimes sit on boards and they think that they're going to be there forever, and that doesn't help that organization create a structure for the future.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing that more because we do a lot of board work that people are hanging on longer, and it doesn't make the right difference. Let's put it that way. As we talked, you've clearly made a contribution, to the Miami-Dade community, to South Florida. For a lot of our up and coming leaders that are even in their 20s and 30s, can you tell them how it actually can make an impact, and how it's made an impact on you, if you will, on your personal growth and your business growth by being involved in the community?
Absolutely, because I started at a very early age in my career getting involved, and I became involved first, United Way. Many people sometimes think, well, it's all about money, and I don't have money. I'm early in my career. I can't write a big check. But you do bring energy, talent, your time. Many of these nonprofits really need the skills that someone that has an MBA or business skills can bring to the table to help them, not necessarily with their core mission, that might be some social work or working with children, for example, or in the arts or culture, but helping them create a stronger organizational base, administrative, accounting-wise, the things that a business person can bring to the table to a nonprofit. What helped me throughout my career, and I became involved in a number of organizations through the years, and I was lucky enough to have a mentor that would call me and say, I want you to get on this board. This will be good for you. Over time, you learned what a well-run board looks like, and one that is a little bit dysfunctional. You learn what Robert's Rules of Order are and how an organization should be run, and how do you run a meeting. All things that I could bring back to the corporate world and help me develop as a leader. You have opportunities for public speaking, for organizing and working in teams, all sorts of things that can help propel you in your professional life. And so this nonprofit is winning from your contribution, but you're personally being developed as well. And over time, what happens is you're creating these networks of people that you sit side by side on these boards and become a resource to you over the years. And because you're sitting next to each other on a joint passion or mission. Later on, you find that you have a great network or a contact to reach out when it's a different context that you need them on. And I would say that every single job in my career has happened because of a connection that I made through having served on a nonprofit board.
Yeah, I
So
think
it's kind of win-win both sides.
yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. I find so often that executives later on they want to get on boards because we do a lot of board search and advisory, and they say, "Man, I've been so busy, I haven't been networking or developing relationships." And it's really hard to start at whatever age later on to develop all the relationships because they truly are relationships. They're not just "I need you now" type of deal.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I think you raise a fantastic point, and it's funny. I don't know if you knew this, but the way I got down to Miami was I was recruited by what was then called JC's International to be an executive director. That was a global leadership development organization in Coral Gables, and I remember giving myself self-advice saying, "Well, let's see. You're moving to a different country from Canada. You're joining a non-profit. That should be good for your career, and you're taking a pay cut. This is fantastic."
It's sunshine and we don't have snow if you were coming from
Well,
Canada.
that was on the plus side. But to your point, I did it, and it was I always joke around. I said it was the best job I ever had for the least amount of money I ever made. But the relationships I developed and the skills I learned, et cetera, internationally were spectacular. So I think you're right on the money. And the earlier you start, the better the relationships are going to be, the stronger they're going to be. So great point. Going back to your media point before, and this is going to be great because it's your perspective being in the media world. I speak to a lot of executives and leaders that are everywhere from excited to flustered to not knowing what to do, whatever, about new media, digital media, social media, traditional media, media, everything. I had one executive tell me recently, I used to be able to have a meeting with people in my office, bring them in heart to heart, get things solved and whatnot. Now I have that meeting, and before the meeting's over, it's on Twitter, he tells me. And so how do you think leaders can best utilize and manage the impact that social media, especially and the speed of it, has on their business?
Um, I think first of all is to recognize it's here and it's only going to grow.
Right.
So there's no avoiding it. I think from the perspective of how do you manage it within the context, and we define it very differently because we want our reporters to be blogging and putting out on Twitter. We also recognize that anything and everything we say internally in this building may end up out there in social media again. So if you start from that premise that every time I send an email out to all employees, it may or may not end up externally, that is not something that you can control, nor would we want to control, especially in the business that we're in. So it sort of sets the tone for thinking through how you communicate. It is what it is.
Right.
Genie's out of the bottle.
Well,
And so,
I don't know about your parents. My parents always just tell me, if you always tell the truth, you don't have to worry about who you told what to.
right, exactly. So you move on from there. I think that the changes in the digital world are transforming not just the media business, but everybody's business. And how we communicate and how we interact affects everybody, no matter what. And we need to all be very aware of it. Even in our business, the speed at which the transformation is happening is accelerating. We, as of last month, 51% of our digital traffic now comes to us through handheld devices, whether it's a smartphone or a tablet. 51%. So people, when they talk digital, if you're still thinking desktop or a laptop computer, you've missed it.
Right.
You really need to now think that people are interacting. How do you interact on a cell phone? Well, we know that people are accessing our content and our stories now more minutes a day than ever before, but they access it in 1 minute increments. So you better be fast, be bold, and be done with it because you need to get their attention quick. And that affects, no matter what line of business you're in, you need to be thinking that is how people are accessing content, advertising, and so on, information. Um,
Yeah.
and and that's going to continue. I mean, at the beginning of the year, we were probably at 46%. Now we're at over 51%.
No, it's incredible. And before you know it, I'll be a hologram to your office talking to you live, basically.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
It's here already. Star Trek almost. Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. um, what has been, I know you've had a lot of interesting experiences. So what's been potentially the most interesting leadership challenge or story you've experienced that you could share?
I don't know. I always think that every day is my most interesting day,
That's
and I
good.
approach life that way. Um, I've been blessed to have had a variety of career opportunities and done many different things, and I can't tell you that one is either more interesting or less interesting. In the moment, they were each, whether they were challenging, interesting, or whatever, but
So,
I enjoy each one of them.
which is great. Every day, I say a lot, every day is an adventure, right? So, one point I do want to talk about briefly, because everybody talks about diversity on boards, diversity, and when obviously you are female in an executive position. Just any general comments about that whole, I hate to call it a movement, but that whole scenario about diversity?
First of all, everybody here on my staff knows I'm always very much focused that for us to serve our mission, we must be internally a reflection of our community.
Right.
And if not, how could we capture and understand what we're reporting on? So it starts from making sure that our employee population is very, very diversified and representative of the community that we're covering every single day. So that starts from there. Even on the advertising side, not only the stories, but what our ads look. Are they representative
Hmm.
of our community? And always keeping an eye on that. And um, it's just instinctive to me. It's understanding Miami and who we are is that is part and parcel of everything we look at. I think that, an interesting day, the day that I was named as president and publisher, I was almost taken aback when I looked at the headline, and the headline said first woman in the Miami Herald's 110-year history. And I never even thought of that. I
Right.
never even looked at it that way. Maybe I thank my dad who raised me to say you can do whatever, and the only limitations you set are that you have are the ones you set upon yourself. Never raised me that, oh, you're a girl, you can't do this. My husband laughed because I'm a girl that comes with tools. I have a toolbox and I know how to handle a drill bit and I know what an Allen wrench is. And he never told me I couldn't do that.
I love it.
And I've been in industries where I've been traditionally, the only female in the room around a board table. Never ever thought that that was either a detriment or that I should get any kind of special treatment because of it. I just, I don't get up and get you coffee, right? Sorry. I was asked that once and I got so angry I spilled the coffee all over the table
All
by
right.
accident.
Good for
Really
you.
bad.
Well, once you do that, they don't ask again.
They never and I said, that's why I don't drink coffee. I drink water because I spill it on myself and stain.
Well,
And, you kind of, I've never thought about that. And I have been very, very, and I use the word again, blessed to work for companies that value diversity. I work in a company where there is a number of women at the helm of newspapers within McClatchy. There are a vast majority of women that are leading the newsrooms. And this is rather unique across the country, not just in McClatchy, that you have a female at the head of the company, but our two newsrooms, the Miami Herald and the Louisville Herald, are led by females, and they're top-notch journalists, award-winning journalists, and also are the head of our editorial pages. They're there not because they're female, but because they're the best for those positions and doing what we need done in those jobs.
yeah,
And
and that's what
always
I think
approach
should
it.
always happen. I've had people that are going into a lot of detail in the past say, I need a so and so. I need an American. I need this. I need that. And the answer should always be, you just get the best right fit person. Period. And you're right. It shouldn't. And it'll come very soon where it won't be the best female, or the first female, or the first black, or the first this or that. So I'm right on. I'm with you there. Now I'm assuming I was going to ask you who's someone that influenced your career in life. I guess Dad did.
Dad did, yeah.
Okay.
No, my father always, because he just never set any limitations. I mean, I was an only child till I was 6 years old, and I just, he was in big construction projects, and I went along on Saturday and Sundays. I jumped in the pickup truck, and we were out there on all these projects, and I know how to do a punch list on a construction job site as well as anybody else. You don't want to be building for me.
All right.
um, so I just, he never differentiated. Um, and said, no, you can only go play with dolls. Never. I was right along with him. So I thank him for that.
Absolutely.
I thank my mother on the other flip side for the fact that she always said you have to give back in terms of what, people ask, why do you do all this community service work? Where does that come from? And my mother said, when you're blessed, you have to give back. And we've been very lucky to have come to this country, and this country was very generous to us, and you give back.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. All right, quick answer type of questions. Very, very personal questions here. Do you have a favorite sport?
I love to jog. I run not only for my physical well-being, but my mental sanity. I love to bike ride. If you're talking sport to go watch sport, probably my best one of team sports is probably go watch the Heat.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll still be strong next year with
Well,
the
we
Chiefs.
will be.
No,
We
I think
got
so.
can't
I think so.
wait.
Do you have a favorite movie and or TV show?
Um, I love watching movies, and I love watching movies in the theater, not at home necessarily. I like
Right.
that whole immersion in the theater. Um, anything science fiction, historical, you name it.
Oh,
Love the
well, you
movies.
should go see the movie Chef, which takes place partly
I
in
love,
Miami.
love Chef. Yes,
Wasn't it
that was.
awesome? Awesome movie. Do you have a
I also
favorite type?
love
I'm
food.
sorry?
I love food. That's why the great one with the chef
Well,
part.
that was leads to my next question. You have a favorite food, or is it going to be the Cuban sandwich from Chef, or what?
Um, just about any food. I love to travel for food,
Hmm.
and that whole experience, whether it's cooking or going to a restaurant. I think it's just
It's,
well,
it's experience. Yeah,
part of the experience.
I'm with you. Favorite type of music?
Like a lot of music, probably one of my favorite is this Spanish singer. Her name is Martirio. She sort of call it Spanish music put to a jazz beat, perhaps. I
Oh,
don't
very
know.
cool.
Um,
Very cool. I love just. I saw Herbie Hancock last night, FYI. So it was
ooh, yeah,
nice.
that's
It was
good.
nice. So, hey, listen. Always great talking with you. I really appreciate the time and the perspectives you give to everybody. And we hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, Mark. Take care.
You
It's
as
been a
well.
pleasure. Bye bye.